well that you can let them in. So thank you so much for being here again. We are thrilled to be able to offer the tech nearshoring lunch and learn with you today. We have Marcio and Pablo with us, who are incredible experts that are going to be able to give different perspectives as well. And I personally am really excited to hear about this. And we will be jumping right into the meat of the lunch and learn here. But before we do that, I want to give just a quick overview of Tech Hub for those of you that are not familiar with what Tech Hub is. South Florida Tech Hub, we are a nonprofit tech association for South Florida. So we represent Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, and even up into the Treasure Coast. One of the great things about Tech Hub, though, is that we also do have international members as well that want to do business here in South Florida. Our biggest mission is to continue to build and enhance the tech ecosystem in South Florida. So we do everything from large events to connecting businesses to top level talent, speaking opportunities. So there's a lot of variety of things that we can do. And there's so much tech going on in South Florida. So it's really, we want to be able to develop that tech pipeline, the tech ecosystem here, but also to let the rest of the world know how amazing South Florida is for tech. So with that, I will go ahead and give the floor to Marcio and Pablo. So you all feel free to go ahead and do your intros and dive right in. I will remove my spotlight so that the stars of the show will be here today. And if you do have any questions from a housekeeping perspective, feel free to use the chat. We will be having a portion of question and answer at the end. So without further ado, take it away.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ashton. It's a pleasure to be here for me and to be talking about this topic with Marcio especially. I don't know, Marcio, if you want to introduce yourself and then me or whatever you prefer.
Go ahead.
Perfect. So I'm Pablo Fajer. I'm CEO of Codifin. At Codifin, what we do is we help US companies establish centers of excellence in countries where it is much cheaper to operate. We know there's a movement of companies wanting to develop in-house, and therefore we give a solution for them to have their in-house talent, but at a much cheaper cost than having all of that development in the US. And very happy to be here and talk about this topic, the trends that we've seen, and how there are different types of solutions in order to really tackle what is now a very digital world.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for this opportunity, Tech Hub, Ashton, and the entire team. I'm very happy and glad always to be joining Tech Hub events. It's massive, important for the region, and it's a great pleasure also to share the day today with Pablo. We had the chance to meet up last year exactly at this moment where we were approaching the Emerge Americas event on March. So, and it's very grateful to see a company like Codifin growing a lot over these nearshoring opportunities in terms of business coming from abroad to US. And I'm the founder and CEO of Massimo Advisors, our advisory company. We are doing business for 8 years right now in US, exactly doing the internationalization process that with companies that are interested to come abroad to US, especially in Florida. Florida, it's getting a highly visibility since a few years ago. And I really recommend Florida because it's turning into an international hub in terms of investments and also implementation of different business perspectives. I'm very glad to be here, and let's see what's gonna be this conversation, because there are some pinpoints that are very important in terms of developing new business in USA. And thank you so much once again, Ashton.
Perfect. So, Marcio, if it's okay, I would like to give a very brief overview into kind of like the trends that we've seen technologically, what we've seen top tech and leading companies do in order to tackle these new trends, and and then maybe have a brief discussion about maybe the solutions that we've seen and how we've seen certain processes have helped companies tackle these new issues and new technological advances.
Makes sense, totally.
Perfect. So I'll just very briefly project. Give me a second. Let me know if you can see my full screen.
We can see it.
Perfect. So just giving a bit of context of where we are, and obviously I would love to focus on AI specifically because that's what kind of like the hot topic is, and what all of the companies are saying. Hey, how do we integrate it? How it's going to change the way we work? How it's going to change the way we provide services, products, etc. So basically, in just 2 years, we've accelerated around 7 years in technology. And what this has meant is that before, companies used to use technology as an enabler to give a service or to give a product. And in just 2 years, that same technology has now become vital. So companies don't use it just as an enabler, but instead as a core value of that same company. It's a core value and core part of the product that they give or of the service that they give. And therefore, a lot of these companies are evaluating how to tackle these new issues, right? Hey, do I keep outsourcing certain software development? Do I have to move it in-house? Since now it's the value of my company, it's dependent on the type of software development that I do, etc. It is no longer optional, and for most companies, it is vital for staying competitive in practically any industry by now. I would say it started with tech, but now it is quite possibly in every single industry. There's a certain analysis that have kind of stated the environment or the ecosystem and what they think is happening with AI. Around 50% of companies believe that failing to implement AI will result in significant market share loss. 75% of businesses are going to rely on AI for key customer data and operations. Around 65 are now using AI in some capacity. Obviously, we would have to deep into understanding what type of capacity, and not just questions in ChatGPT. And it is estimated around 5% revenue growth is linked to AI in company use. So now that technology is not just part of the product, but the product itself, outsourcing for AI development has become very contradictory to what companies want. You normally outsource you normally don't outsource key development. You normally outsource areas that are not key to your product or service. And now that technology is building internal teams is becoming critical for true innovation. And so we've seen that around 70% of organizations are adopting in-house models for AI. Around 50% of the companies are moving operations in-house in order to develop these AI capabilities, because there is a growing demand for agility in these types of services. So internal teams will enable much faster response to market changes. Now, every 2 months, there is a change, and therefore internal teams can adapt quickly, can adjust, have that flexibility to adjust not only to the company needs, but to the market as a whole. And it is much easier to have flexibility in the data, protection of the data, flexibility into the services that you give. And therefore, we've seen a huge shift of companies moving away from critical staffing companies and into in-house development. Now, in-house development, we'll talk a bit more about this, but it is much easier said than done. How do you move key operations in-house? How do you structure your teams? How do you keep your teams engaged? And how, more specifically, do you find the talent to be able to drive this new innovation in-house? One of the main solutions that we've seen big companies do is leveraging two center of excellence locations. And more specifically in Mexico and India, I would say those are probably the leading outsourcing or center of excellence locations for US companies specifically. Um, and this has helped these companies reduce time to market, cost, and improve the quality of development. There are a couple of very key elements as to why companies say, okay, now that I have to move in-house, I cannot have all of my team in the US because it's way too expensive. Salaries are 3 times more expensive than in other countries. And now the talent in other countries is improving every day. And the quality we've seen is becoming almost parallel to the quality in the US. And therefore, many of these companies say, hey, why am I paying 3 or 4 times in the US what I can get in Mexico or in India for the same type of quality? And the first way that they move outside is moving into India and moving into Mexico. Why? Because first of all, it gives you 24 hours 7 development. While they're developing in India, in Mexico they are asleep. When they wake up in Mexico, they're developing, and in India they are asleep. So by leveraging these time zones, you work around the clock, and the time to market becomes almost twice as efficient as if you would only have one team specifically in one location. Um, Two is, for me, one of the most important ones is the cross-regional expertise. So IBM, for example, has centers of excellence in Bangalore and in Mexico City. Why? Because while in India the team is providing their expertise in AI and in the back end development, in Mexico, they are providing more of the front end development. Why? Very simple. In India, they only have 1 or 2 hours contact with the US. So their main focus and their main expertise is in the back end, in the systems, because they don't need that much contact with the US. And in Mexico, it's the same time zone. So they are much more connected with the end client. They're much more connected with that transfer of best practices with the US company. And therefore, they focus more on the front end, on what the client is going to see and what they are seeing constantly with the client in the US. And this way, you kind of leverage the expertise in India and the expertise on Mexico to create a very advanced and very innovative product. Operational resilience. If something happens in one location, you have the other location. Accenture uses this dual location strategy to ensure that they always are operating. And obviously, talent acquisition and retention. And this connects a bit with the expertise. While, for example, Tata assigns all the backend development to Indian teams that don't require direct client interaction, and Mexico handles the client-facing and direct communication roles, like tech leads, like product managers, benefiting from the cultural alignment with North American clients. So that's kind of like the idea of why it is important to start building these centers of excellence. And centers of excellence has a very strong connotation into saying, no, only the top companies can do it, and only the companies with more than 10,000, 20,000 employees can do these centers of excellence. We've seen a huge trend in the middle market and the small companies where they migrate teams of 2 or 3 people and up to 50, 60 people. And that's kind of like the key trend that we've seen. This mid-sized companies trying to look for that advantage as well. And for them, it's initially very hard to structure a whole new business outside of their country, outside of the US. And that's where obviously Codifin comes in into helping them only focus on the operational part and not focus on all the administrative process to structure a center of excellence, all the talent attraction, talent retention strategies, payroll, etc. So for us, and I would like to, and I'll go very quickly on this part. For us, Mexico has become one of the, if not the leading country for moving centers of excellence. Between Mexico and India, probably India still has the lead, but Mexico is growing. Why? Because it not only offers a talent pool of around 1 million IT professionals, with that growing every year. We have around 130,000 engineering students graduate every year. And top companies like IBM, like Google, like Amazon are very interconnected with the universities. So there are specific programs that train these students to be able to navigate the very complex technological systems that these companies have. And therefore, they have the necessary skills to be able to develop in this new AI era. But also, 75% of the countries between the same time zone. And this I don't mean it in the sense that you can be chatting with them all the time and you have the same time zone, but instead it's more about the capability transfers. When you're in constant contact with your employees in Mexico, what happens is they start transferring those best practices that you have in the US. And that is made much easier when you have that same time zone. So if they have daily meetings with their team, if they have a constant contact with you, they start transferring those best practices that you have in your company in the US. Probably in LATAM, Mexico and Brazil are the most attractive countries right now, considering their bilingual talent and the cost per FTE. If we look at the amount of bilingual talent, Mexico and Brazil are leading. And if we look at the cost per FTE, although Mexico and Brazil are a bit more expensive than Colombia and Argentina, considering both factors, these are the kind of like the main hubs for technological development. Brazil, Canada, and Mexico as well lead in direct foreign investment, with multiple international companies already established themselves in the countries. And specifically to Mexico, the three main top tech hub states are Mexico City, Monterrey, and Jalisco. So obviously, these are kind of key trends into the Latin American. Why we believe between Mexico and Brazil, those are the top destinations in LATAM for building your tech hubs. And just to end kind of like this presentation, I would like to focus a bit about many of the initial questions that these companies have. Okay, yeah, that sounds great. I would love to have my in-house team at a 3 times cheaper price in Mexico or LATAM, but how would I even start finding the best talent? No, and that's key. Whenever you are moving operations outside of the US, the most important success KPI is to have the best talent that matches what the company is looking for. And in order to do this, what we've come to understand is that in many LATAM countries, there's a lot of talent, but a lot of very good talent that matches what the US companies are looking for, and talent that doesn't really match what the US companies are looking for. And we've designated very specific key trends of where this talent graduates, what type of companies they work with, how long they stay within companies, what type of material they like, and more than thousands and thousands of key characteristics that enable us to know and enable us to tap into the talent pool that US companies really like. And we've done this with many of the US companies and started to realize that there is a key trend as to what type of talent really matches the requirements that US companies expect from their developers. So we've actually developed an AI tool that helps companies match with the specific talent pool that they need for their operations. And this way, we not only facilitate finding the right talent and avoiding having talent that does not match the company's requirement, but we also facilitate the scaling. We can scale 3 or 4 times faster than any other agency can, because we have automated the tapping into this specific talent pool that US companies want. And I think that's the key step into migrating your operations. You can have a very good administration of the talent. You can have the best computers, the best office spaces, whatever you want. But in order for it to be successful, you do have to have the best talent for your company. And that is one of the key elements that we have focused on in order to really ensure a smooth transition and a very successful transition. So that's kind of like some of the topics that I wanted to discuss. Sorry that I took a bit more of the time, but would love to open the floor with you, Marcio, to discuss a bit of what we spoke about, and obviously know more about your comments and insights into this.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I thank you so much, Pablo, to bring this fantastic background to the conversation, because doing internationalization or nearshore services comes to the massive chances of growth that we have in USA, specifically right now from 2025 with this new administration. We see a lot of initiatives that are going to bring more focus in terms of economical development, international economical alliances and partnerships. So the market's pretty much open, despite we are seeing a lot of new accommodations in terms of immigration. The market definitely will spike along this next 2 or 3 years. We're going to see a very consistent growth. So I want to just highlight 3 points that are very important by the perspective of doing business internationally with US and from US. For sure, I'm very suspect. I live in Florida. I love this state. We have around 5 states that are very strong in terms of international business. We are talking about Florida, Massachusetts, New York, Illinois, California, and Texas. 6 states. Those are very strong in terms of international lending here in the US and also international nearshoring, hiring process and contracting companies from abroad. So having this topic set, I really want to highlight 3 points that are very important. First one, it's the planning and the preparation process for this part of the initiative. So if you are intending, I just want to share very quickly, I will not take too long, but I just want to highlight here some points that are very important in terms of planning and preparing a company to do nearshore services and also establishing its headquarters here in the West. Because many companies have been failing in terms of establishing their business in the US because they are not respecting the culture of the business model and the business methodology in terms of adapting and matching with the marketplace. It's very huge and it's very important. Many companies are putting a lot of money on the table to come to US, but they are failing in doing the preparation. And this means at the end, it will cost not only money, but also time. And mostly of the times, those companies will be invited to come back to your countries or your own countries and redo all the process. So our company is very specialized in doing the preparation, but we do the mid part of the process and also we do the marketplace matching making and we do the marketplace plugging in with the companies and we support and help with the local ecosystem not only in terms of business but also in terms of hubs of business of innovation and technology too. But here are some points that I really recommend that everyone that is assisting and also please afterwards share this recording message because it's going to be very helpful for entrepreneurs that are looking for US as a marketplace to develop their business. So we have here some topics that are very important and many entrepreneurs start by immigration. And I can tell you frankly, immigration is the second or the third part of this process. First part is to assure that your company fulfill with a local taxation process, with the local financial perspective, with the local asset planning development. This is very important because from this, we're going to have the real understanding about your company's business perspective internationally saying. And then we can start figuring out what should be your status in terms of immigration. Most of the entrepreneurs looking for, hey, if I buy a green card doing investor as an investor, it's good, but maybe you can save a significant money if you are developing the right profile in terms of establishing properly your company in US because we have different ways of setting up a new company in US in terms of providing services, providing hardware, technology, food, beverage, exportation, importation, depend on the way we're going to set the profile of the company, it's going to interfere at the immigration process. Other level of importance in preparation is trademark registration. It's very important to be attentive to the patents and certificates that are necessary to operate in the US. Having your company headquartered here in the US or not, it's providing services from abroad. It's we have different requirements in terms of certifications. We have FDAs for drugs, food, beverage, and everything that is related to the human body. We have a FDA, we have FCC for telecommunications, for telemetrics, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi communication, everything that is related to data and communication. And we have a lot of certifications depending on the vertical of your business. And many entrepreneurs, once again, they only discover this when they land here in the West. It's gonna cost much more. If you do it prior, it's gonna be more efficient. Other thing that I call the attention is the succession and inheritance process in terms of companies. If you're gonna have this in your future, this kind of many companies has litigations when we have M&As, when we have one of the stakeholders leaving the company. This is quite significant, sensitive here in the US, and we do really recommend securitization of this process. We have many professionals here, and for sure Massima is engaged with some of the high-skilled ones in terms of doing this preparation. It's something very significant, and you need to start doing this from your country. Then it's going to be easy to accommodate in US. So I really encourage you entrepreneurs that pay attention on those points, especially this part of insurance and securitization of the assets of your company, of your family, and the protection not only of the wealth, but also of the assets that your company could bring to US. This is very, very sensitive and very important. So we will not have enough time here to go in deep details, but for sure, at the end, we're gonna share our contacts. Please feel free to make any type of consultation. We don't charge to talk with people. I love to talk with people to bring a clarity and the right information. Be attentive to that. Also, Florida is one of the biggest market right now in the US for real estate. Many people just look for Florida to invest in real estate, to have apartments, to develop Airbnbs, to purchase triple M's in terms of developing corporations building here. So it's easy to purchase real estate in US, but depending on your profile, depending on the company's profile, it's very, very recommendable to do a plan of investment in real estate, because taxation over real estate, it's something very huge here in the US. If you do not plan properly the structure you're going to develop to protect, to create a kind of umbrella, kind of holding to protect your state's wealth, most probably you're going to be surprised with the bill at the end of a year from IRS, the taxation fiscalization agency of taxes in US, because this is quite sensitive. It's very important to do this part of planning. And for sure, we have specialized people in terms of real estate brokers, agents, and also mortgage plans, which is very important right now in the US because the interests are floating, and depend on the program or the profile you pick, you're gonna be surprised with the tax. So those are kind of sensitive points that I really encourage all the entrepreneurs to take a look on that. Afterwards, just ping me a message. I could share all these slides with you guys with a huge pleasure. I'll be open for consultation. Once again, no costs. Second point that is very important, I want to share very quickly, is about the culture and the business market matchmaking. It's very important. Business culture in the US is something very unique. It's important. Doesn't matter if you're going to establish your headquarters here in the US or you're going to provide services from abroad. Take advantage of the nearshoring policy. But it's important to understand it's going to be not mandatory, but it's going to be very and highly recommendable that you establish a company in US. And if you're talking about Florida, for example, Florida is very, very easy to open a company. If you have all the paperwork in your hand, you just jumping into Sunbee's website, which is this website that we manage all the companies. In 15, 20 minutes, you have your company open. It's easy. But the point is, many entrepreneurs do it by itself. And I really don't recommend to do that. First, do a plan, a taxation plan, because companies over companies will make you, it will make you pay more taxes. So be wise about that. Do a good consultation with a good advisory companies. For sure, we are one of them and we are open to do that. Inside our ecosystem, we have a lot of business and international business advisors, and I do recommend all the entrepreneurs to look for this because this is case of sensitive issue in US. It's very important to understand about the legal, regulatory, and operational compliances here in the US and per state. Depending on the state you're going to establish your company, please take a look into those details into each state. For sure, our services is to give you everything summarized and everything well organized to make you go smoothly through this process. Other thing is to understand the logistic, distribution, supply chain for each state. Florida is massive in terms of logistic and distribution because we are exactly in the corner of the United States, attending Atlantic and also attending now the Gulf of America and the Panama Canal. Through that, we can reach out to the entire globe. So it's important to understand the logistic of your business and of your methodology in terms of business. And last but not least, I'm just jumping very quickly here to show about the soft landing. This is something very important to be considered, and I'm not going in details here, but it's very important at least to have the owner, the founder, the main executives of the company speaking the language, English and at least Spanish. Those are more common language here in the West for sure. English is the official language. All the paperworks are established in English. So I really recommend that. And surprisingly, we have a lot of entrepreneurs come from different countries speaking no English, and it's going to be hard. You need to have an interpreter for those approaches because you're going to be approaching some governmental agencies or some special hubs here in the West, and it's very recommended. Seems simple, but it's not. It's important to define your marketing communication, your products and services, adaptation to US culture and marketing. It's very important. The design of your business is very important to be established for US perspective because the market here in the US, it's much more driven to e-commerce, for example. Depending on the product, you're gonna be selling massively through Amazon. Amazon is the first marketplace for e-commerce in US. Amazon is responsible for 58% of the total e-commerce that are developing in US. Second, we have Walmart with 8%, and then we have eBay and others. So I really recommend pay attention on the design of your marketing communication or on your portfolio, because most probably the e-commerce will be the hugest platform for your business. If not, understanding the logistic and supply chain, which is going to be the second important point here. And third point is regulations. United States is one of the most regulated countries. That's the reason we could keep the quality of services, we could keep the quality of provisioning, we could keep the quality of delivery in US, Most of the e-commerce, we have the same day delivery. It's unbelievable. Sometimes in Brazil, we purchase something and it takes a week, 15 days to be delivered. Here in the US, most of the products, depending on the region you are, is on the same day, massively. So why is this? Because we respect and we do the regulation properly. So those are my pinpoints for this. I have here my QR code for start getting communication with me. For sure, you have all my data. You can take a photo, you can copy this slide, and I'll be more than glad to be of service to get in contact, to schedule a conversation. I don't want to take too much time talking alone here, but I love the chance to maybe, I don't know if Ashton will have the courage to open the mics. I love to open the mics. And maybe at the end we can open the mics and have some pinpoint conversation. I love that. And thank you so much for this opportunity once again.
Awesome. Wonderful. And thank you guys so much for that conversation and all that information. It was really interesting to see all those pinpoints. And I wasn't thinking previously about the AI aspect, but that was also really something. Of course, AI is in everything, so it makes perfect sense. And I am okay with opening the mics as well if people want to ask questions directly. Some people aren't as comfortable with doing that. So we do have the option if you want to go off mute and ask a question, or pop any questions into the chat. We would love to hear from you. We do have a couple of comments while they are putting chats in, but a lot of congratulations and thank yous to you all. Luis did mention something as well, and then Roger just said to congratulate on the quality of the meeting and your guys' presentation. So are there any questions that we have from the group here? I have a question. So what I know that you said, since we have time here, I know that you said that we could have, that you all are open to one-off conversations, but how would people get started? Oh, here we go. We have one. I will hold mine for later. So Carlos asked, can you review how you identify talent, the hiring process? So what is tested and assessed, how long it typically takes, and once hired, how long the talent is available on hands-on keyboard to the US-based company?
I think it's for you, Pablo.
Yes, sorry, I wasn't finding the the mute button. Perfect. So the process, and I'll go very quickly. The process that we do is we have a talent pool where we've connected not only our internal talent pool, but also external talent pools that in Mexico that we've identified. So, and let me see if I can very, very quickly, it'll take probably like 2 minutes. Let me see if I have, okay. So let me open up, I'll share my screen just to give you the whole process of how quickly we can do this. Let me open up. Whenever a client sends us a job description, we upload this job description and we start the recruitment process. So this recruitment process, what it will do, it will analyze not only the job description, but it will also analyze the company. And it will let me know, hey, that company, where are they hiring from? What universities? How do those universities in the US compare to the top universities in the US? What are the types of companies they are hiring from? What types of, rotation or permanence they stay on average? Because there are some companies that want people to stay longer, shorter, etc. And it will give me, so right now I put whichever job description I had, but I'm missing maximum experience years up to 10 and minimum, I don't know, 50. And what it would do is it will let me know exactly the skills that this company is looking for, but also all the soft skills, how this company, what type of talent they're looking for, what type of talent they hire generally in that type of company, what industry they're in, and what type of talent matches well with that type of industry. So, and now what we do is we analyze the market in Mexico. And what this helps us do is analyze not only for that specific profile, how it compares in the Mexico market, in terms of the salary ranges and if you're above or below. But what the robot helps us do is that it will let us know, hey, if you're below the salary range in Mexico, probably I will have to recommend a certain type of client. No, okay, you're in this, you're below the market range. I will have to recommend this type of talent. If you're above the market range, then I will only recommend candidates that come from top universities, that come from top companies, etc. So once that robot starts getting that information, it will then start sharing candidates from the specific talent pools that we know match with the client requirements from different databases. It can be our internal database or it can be external databases. The thing here is to have a broad talent pool in order to be able to recommend. And right now we can go over 500,000 types of profiles in order to find a specific match. So I'll look at this one. This comes from a source CompuTrabajo, which is a database here in Mexico. This one comes from LinkedIn. So I'll just, I don't know, click on these three because I want to hire one guy, and I will generate recommendations. What this robot will now do is that it will go into the these profiles, and what I will do in this profiles is analyze absolutely everything from these profiles. Hey, what are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? And are the next steps for the recruiters? So, for example, this profile that says, hey, it lacks to a specific mention on React and Next. So it will be important as a next step to verify their proficiency through targeted technical interviews. Hey, his primary experience is in Angular, so we have to conduct a technical evaluation, blah, blah, blah. His salary expectation may exceed the range due to the extensive experience. Explore the salary. So this will help the recruiters focus the interview specifically on uh, making sure that this candidate matches 100% of what the company is looking for. So that's the initial process that we do in order to find the talent. And once we find the talent, we take care of the whole thing, onboarding, inductions, etc. Obviously guided 100% to your company, so they feel as if they're part of your company 100%. But we take care of all the compliance part in Mexico. And generally, they can start, and we take care of the computers that they need, the equipment. If you require office space, office space. If not, remote, and we can handle the geolocation, productivity analysis, etc. And they are generally from the requirement to when they start working. It is generally around a week and a half, 2 weeks from when they can start working. So hopefully that answers a bit the questions. And I don't know if there's additional ones.
I wanna hook a comment from Pablo's answer. And Codifin, it's a very grateful example in terms of internationalization. They are doing exactly nearshore services right now, and we could see how professional and how mature they are in terms of solutions and introducing their business between the countries. In other words, providing services here in the West. And this is very fundamental by the points I was sharing minutes ago, because as you could see, they are extremely well organized in terms of offering their product. So they came here, they understand the market, they test the process, they were in contact with the local marketplace. So we are right now developing this conversation under the partnership of South Florida Tech Hub. South Florida Tech Hub is the massive tech hub for the region of Florida, South Florida, and now it's taking the entire state. They're preparing to launch a big operation. And I really encourage all the entrepreneurs, because many people come, do I need to pay association? Don't worry about to pay association, because associating your business with the local ones, you are, in the other words, you are learning how to engage your business with the local market. You are understanding and doing proper networking with the people that's gonna leverage your business into the market. This is the culture. This is the culture of USA. That's one of the points I was highlighting. And Codifin did it properly. Not only Pablo, but also Emilio and the other guys, the other executives of the company, they are every other week, I can tell you, or maybe every other month, they are here in the US and they are traveling back and forth all the time between Mexico and Florida, exactly to understand and do these adaptations, and they are uh, making this matching with the local market. That's the reason they are growing. They are doing nicely, and this is a right example, for example, to encourage all the entrepreneurs to go in this direction. And awesome, great question, Carlos. Thank you.
Amazing. And I also love Carlos is using Portuguese and Spanish.
Great, great.
So
It's
perfect.
multicultural. It's multicultural.
Exactly.
Hablamos
And
espanhol e falamos português também.
and you're right, and English as well. No, I love it. That's so great. And as we wait for more questions to come in, I will sneak back in and ask mine. So Pablo, when you mentioned working with top universities, do you work with their career centers? I know you mentioned like LinkedIn and those things. Like, how are you all proactively finding talent as well?
So, oh, sorry, I think no, I wasn't on mute. So
Good. Yeah.
we're both. So we have connections with the top universities here in Mexico, where we're constantly looking at the talent pool that's coming out, uh, engaging with it, and seeing how we can incorporate it to U.S. companies. But we as well are actively searching for established talent, and that can be we probably interview around, I don't know, maybe 1,000 developers a month or even more. So our talent or internal talent pool uh, is very broad, and it increases every time we every day that passes. But we don't want to limit ourselves there with only our internal data pool. So what we've done is we've connected with external data pools from LinkedIn, OCC, any additional talent pools in Mexico, where we're able to get those candidates and it kind of have our AI robots recommend which of those candidates will be good matches for our US clients. So that way we have a very, very broad talent pool. And that way we have clients that request a team of, I don't know, 200, 300 people in 4 months, and we're able to do that. Or a team where they tell me I need only 5 guys, but they have to be the best in less than a week. And we're able to do that.
That's great. You proactively answered my second question with having the size conversation. So that's wonderful. Any other questions that we have in the chat? Feel free to add it in, but also Marcio, thank you so much for your comments about Tech Hub. I mean, I think you're the perfect example of someone that just maximizes the benefits that Tech Hub can bring, and it's always so wonderful to see you at our events. As we are waiting for other questions to come in, I can and Isabel's on as well. We have a lot of different events coming up as well that we can let people know for those of you that are in South Florida, and also too if you're visiting. We have Tech Talk for AWS on February 26th, and that is at City Furniture. We also have a tech night, a VIP tech night at the Miami Open, which will be great. And then I can even just provide a link in here. We have our kickoff party, our 30th anniversary, and it was a kickoff party for the first of the year, but Florida weather, we pushed it back a little bit. So that's going to be on February 27th here. So we will put in our events in here, but our virtual events like this are just so great too, to be able to have, people literally, Pablo all the way from Mexico, and thankfully Marcio's here in Florida. But it's one of the biggest things that we love to do is just to expose people to the information, make these connections, and just really drive the tech ecosystem here as well. So, perfect. Thank you, Isabel. Isabel popped in all of the links for the upcoming things. As you can see, there's a lot going on in a really positive way because how quickly things are going. So if you do have questions as well about nearshoring and this full concept, or even just like anything that Marcio or Pablo covered today, Marcio or Pablo covered today, their LinkedIn information is up at the beginning of this chat. Marcio also put his QR code. We will be following up on the Tech Hub side of things with the recording as well, and can include that information too. So are there any other questions? I think we have another one. Oh, Marcio, thank you for putting that in as well. And then we have someone else joining too. All right. Well, I guess we'll be able to end a little bit early here on the Friday, but I can't thank you guys enough. I have learned so much today, just in general. So I know everyone else on the call has as well. Thank you for providing your expertise and your time. Thank you so much for everyone that has joined us today as well. We know that it's a Friday afternoon or morning, depending on where you are in the world. And we're just very appreciative. So thank you so much for everyone today. We will be following up with the recording and all the information. So thank you so much.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you.